I'd bet my left testicle. It's always whoever the fuck raised you. That's who it is. Because, it's like, I keep coming back to this example. When the men and women lay the sidewalk out in front of your house.
Sure.
They're putting down the new sidewalk. It's just like, they make it real smooth and everything. And then end of the day, to have it dry, they put the tape around it so all the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood won't come and fucking step in it and all that shit. And then they leave, and then all the peckerhead kids in the neighborhood come out and they press things into it, and they get a stick and they write, Tommy has a boner or whatever. And then that's the shit that sticks. And when we're children, those messages, and I'm not talking just about the explicit ones. More often, it's the implicit ones. And more often, it's the ones that were never given words, but were expressed through the actions that the child got about himself and about life. And those become pressed into that cement, and that cement hardens, and that becomes the virus infecting the operating system of who the fuck that child is. And it's just like, I see it especially in the hyper successful, that they are driven by belief systems. So now you can see then.
Sure.
The transition in my life from religion, belief systems,
Sure.
into my work is fundamentally, most therapy is about getting people's pain out of them and, medicating them or whatever. My work is, yes, about getting the pain and the fears, reaching down your throat, pulling out your pain and fears, but it's ultimately about belief systems.
Okay.
That people have belief systems running their life that were pressed into them by mommy and daddy that they aren't aware of running their life. And that's what's corrupting the whole fucking system. So whether it's the boy complex, whether it's this gentleman, with Harvard, and he's at Harvard and he's having stomach problems and then suicide and all this, it's always driven by the belief systems that got pressed into that wet cement and hardened that they're not even aware of. Absolutely. And just for the record, I don't know if you can see them, but I've got 8-inch scars running up my arms.
How come?
From suicide. So when I talk about suicide,
Well, you cut it the right way too. So
right,
you
right,
meant it.
up the long way there. And I did some side ones as well to get some real traction going. This one was, I think, 9 centimeters deep. This one was 13, or not centimeters, millimeters. This one was 13 millimeters, something like that. The point is belief systems, the power of belief systems, and the things we will do destroying our own selves because of that belief system, because of the fear of the external power sources. It's extraordinarily powerful shit.
What drove you to want to do that?
Well, I had been, I had lost my first wife, and she had done everything in her power to separate my children from me, even when we were married. And I loved her to death and so forth. And to this day, now we get along, 25 years later, whatever. So there was that. But also in my career, I was trying so hard to get into ministry, and I kept getting my ass handed to me, getting kicked out. And I was trying to serve people and serve humanity. And no matter what, every single fucking door was closed. Every single door was closed. Every single fucking door was closed. And I just kept getting my ass handed to me. And I was praying to God. I said, listen, I've done everything I can. I don't know what more I can do to serve. Perhaps humanity will be better served by my death. That somehow my death will be an inspiration. But that wasn't an overnight thing. I was on the cusp of suicide at what I call the suicide point for 12 years.
Wow.
Where I was thinking about it, if not towards the end, it was, once a day, multiple times a day, whatever. But in the last 3 or 4 years, it was a couple times a week or multiple times a week. But I was at suicide point for 12 years where I'm thinking about it at least multiple times a month. Excuse me. And then I just reached a point, and then the woman that would become my second wife broke it off with me, and then the door closing and getting thrown out of the Lutheran Church ministry, and everything. It's just like everything had gone to shit except my health. And then I'm just like, I got nothing left. And so I drove to the foot of the Berkeley Pier, drove up from Los Angeles to the foot of the Berkeley Pier where I'd gone to graduate school, seminary, and sat in my car, had some Dave Matthews going, and slit my wrists. And I bled and I bled and I bled for about 45 minutes. And I wasn't dying. There was fucking blood everywhere. And I'm a big dude. I wasn't this big then, but, I was probably 20 pounds less. But I wasn't dying. And I started laughing, and not like the high, I'm lightheaded because I have no blood type of laugh, but just the sort of the
irony.
The irony of, okay, I'm not dying. And then I had sort of the come to Jesus moment, absent Jesus, and I don't, and I need to be really careful here because so many people say, oh, nobody wants to die who commits suicide. And I'm really I want to set that one aside. Even though that was my experience in the moment, I don't want to say that's a blanket statement for all people because
Sure.
everybody's a fucking expert on fucking suicide, but unless you've fucking been there, anyway. But I had the
No, it's an
conversation with
important
myself of
side
I
note.
don't want to die, but if I choose to get out of this car, I'm going to have to make decisions differently, and I'm going to have to start choosing differently. And that's all I knew. And so I got out of the car. And in California, they sent me to the psych ward for 72 hours, but they let me out after 36 because the psychologist said, you're not, you're just,
You made a decision. You're done.
you're different or whatever. And so anyway, from there, that was the pivotal moment of my life. And that was a death. That was a spiritual death of my old self. And it took a few years and so forth, but life began to change. And then it was, 7 whatever years later when I was living on the street. And I was at a coffee shop one morning because I found enough money or whatever to have a cup of coffee, a mocha or whatever it was. And
There you go.
and I was
That's a
doing
little treat.
That's it. And I was doing my journaling that morning, and I started laughing, and like really from a deep place. And I realized in that moment, I think it was 2009, 2007, I'd never been happier in my entire life.
Wow.
I'd finally gotten all of the pain out.
While you were journaling on the street, living on the street.
And I had been journaling since I was 13. My mother started me journaling when I was 13.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, extraordinarily powerful. And since then, I've found more powerful tools or tools that can get the same effect, but at an accelerated rate. And I mentioned those in my book. But yeah, anyway, the point is that this being at the suicide point and committing suicide and then coming out of it and so forth. And I leave the scars on. I could have them lasered off, and people have said, "Well, why do you keep those on?" and so on and so forth. Because I've had people see the scars and say, "Oh shit, this guy's been there."
Right.
And I'll say that I have been where you are. This isn't book shit for me. I didn't study psychology. I'm not a fucking psychologist. I'm a fucking spiritual counselor. My background is spirituality, connecting you with your own spirit, who the fuck you are, and all of my exercises, all of my principles, all of my theories, all of it is shit that either worked on me and or it has worked on others for decades. And so it's just fucking real everyday shit to bring about that healing so that there's less pain out there in the world.
Sure. That's a